Award season. The time of year where people have calm and totally rational opinions about nominees because you're actually just a chill guy who likes games, right? Wrong. If there's any certainty we can look forward to every year is that the Game Awards always brews up some kind of discourse. This year is no different. With tons of games nominated in categories people definitely have feelings about. Lots of games deserve the acclaim, by the way, with small titles like Balatro rightfully forging a massive breakthrough in the bigger categories. And indeed, there's the case to be made for why any of the games nominated should deserve their respective win. But what about the games that didn't make the list? Like those underrated and overlooked gems that are actually secret YouTube masterpieces in 10 years' time. Or those smaller titles you maybe haven't heard of that fly under the mainstream radar but are just as impactful. Well, don't worry because I've got you covered. While the Game Awards continues to nominate a bunch of the games we expect to get nominated year after year, we'll go over some of the best games of 2024 not nominated for the Game Awards.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the creator of the Save Room Awards, Jimbo the Clown.
They say it isn't the size of the boat that counts, but rather the waves you make for cool, unique, creative achievement to deliver an experience unlike no other in the major publishing space. Nowhere is this better represented than this year's Best Independent category. A flawed category, mind you, where provocative games made by two-person teams advertised as indies like Fear the Spotlight miss out on the one category they possibly could have made it in because of deals with a publishing arm. Still, it's a competitive year, with some of my favorites making the cut at Jeff's show. Balatro is a highly quick, what's another word for addictive so that the game doesn't get banned again for simulated gambling. Compelling game you accidentally lose hours to, while Lorelei and the Laser Eyes delivered not just the best puzzle game in years, but a truly surreal, maddening, and paranoid gothic tale told in between shots of espresso. Games for the true sickos type shit. And yet, there's a litany of games that, I'd argue, could just have easily made the list of nominees, and maybe even won. Puzzle action games like Children of the Sun. Time trial shooters like I Am Your Beast, and transcendent narratives like 1000 Times Resist. But the game I want to talk about is Mouthwashing. Mouthwashing is cruel. A truly rotten horror game. The kind of game that makes you feel disgusting just by making progress in the story. Tough to do in a year that had you click a mouse 2,000 times while a guy watched lustfully from a motel cuck chair. But it's also more than just its cruelness. And I'm not just referring to the fan cam edits of Anya and Daisuke people make on Twitter once they finish the game. For the roughly 4 hours that you spend stranded on the cargo ship out in the edges of space, you'll witness some of the most gripping character moments of the year. All in between making cakes, watching sunsets on broken TVs, force-feeding painkillers down your captain's throat, drinking mouthwash to get drunk, and trying to keep your sanity. It also features some of the year's best horror, oscillating between controller-clenching scares and tense, unnerving dialogue meant to sit just beneath the flesh. All while providing some of the best composed shots of the year in an era where games just don't really do that anymore. By the end of Mouthwashing, you'll be questioning to what extent any of us can be forgiven for breaching moral lines. It's a special game, especially if you can withstand the vileness and horror that surrounds it all. Even if you can't, don't worry. On the Tulpar, God is not watching. From sublime artillery, visceral finishers, and dopamine-hitting dodges and parries, it's another highly competitive year in the best action category. Whether you fell in love with Black Myth Wukong's boss fights, adored the sweat, bile, and smell of napalm while pushing back Terminids in Helldivers, or got into some serious flow states with Stellar Blade's combat, There's a case to be made for any one of these action games. Well, maybe except for Call of Duty. Because if the criteria for this category is solely based on a game's excellency in combat, then I don't think there's another shooter this year better than with my pick, I Am Your Beast.
Be careful what you wish for.
Do you ever think about death?
I Am Your Beast is pure, high-octane adrenaline. A time trial challenge-filled shooter made for the gamer's gamer. A game so beautifully intense, it'll have you tweaking your mouse's DPI to flick and shoot the heads of enemies as you parkour from cliffs, trees, and wires across a hyper-stylized wilderness. It's the single best display of action, stripped down to its core, the likes of AAA can only dream of touching. You won't get shooting better than this. Eat your fucking heart out. No other shooter this year gets it like this game does. It's not just that the shooting feels or sounds good, that's just standard for any FPS. It's that the design around the action elevates the shooting itself into the sublime experience you have on a level-to-level basis. It's the placement of enemies as you platform across a level that feels good. It's the option of throwing a knife or picking up a gun for the enemy just in front of you that feels good. It's the explosive barrels that sit next to a group of enemies you can't help but shoot that feels good. It's the half-second pause the game takes the moment you oh so perfectly land an insta-kill headshot, as if the game were saying, yeah, you just fucking did that. That feels good. And it's the score meter landing just shy of S-tier rank and the moment of hesitation before hitting retry and doing it all over again that, you guessed it, feels good. It's shooter perfection. Action bliss. The kind of thrill this year up there with the likes of locking into face bosses in Shadow of the Erdtree. A good-ass game. But just like the best independent category, best action also isn't without its flaws. Especially in a year where you have combat as enthralling in games like Nine Souls and Dragon's Dogma 2. Even if those are more action-adventure than anything. In short, the categorization of most of the games here is just too broad. So much so that it feels like an oversight there also isn't a best adventure category. All this to say, the games here point to larger issues with how the categories at the Game Awards are made. Especially with some of the bigger categories. More often than not, stories are why I play games. Stories that provoke some kind of feeling in me. Games that have something to say. Games that resonate beyond their gameplay. It's another year with stiff competition in that regard. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth excelled in its character moments. Bloober Silent Hill 2 Remake remixed the story of James's traumatic past. And Metaphor Refantazio paints what is perhaps the most prescient world of troubled democracy we've gotten from a game in quite some time. Well, from a major publisher, that is. Because, if we're being honest, there's one major noticeable snub in this category. And all categories, for that matter. A game so transcendent, it had anyone who came near it call it not just their game of the year this year, but one of the most important games ever made. That secret little game is none other than 1000 Times Resist. It isn't easy to tell you what 1000 Times Resist is. It's even harder to show you what it is. That's how I started the video I made on the game back in September. A 43-minute analysis about all the overarching themes that make this game resonate as deep as it does with so many people. From identity, motherhood, femininity, coming-of-age teenage angst, societal unrest, futurity, and apocalypse. There's really nothing else like it. Told over the course of 1,000 years and 10 chapters, 1000 Times Resist is a half-visual novel sci-fi game about the end of the world. And Iris, the teenage girl at the center of the plot who is cursed to live forever. You play as Watcher, a clone of the All-Mother whose job it is to relive the memories of Iris's teenage years, uncovering the secrets of this dystopian society that go further than you can possibly imagine. 1000 Times Resist is bold. So bold even that it begins with the murder of the game's most important character. You have no choice but to watch everything you know, and everything you think you know, unfold in surreal, highly emotional vignettes. But it isn't just the atypical storytelling that makes this game deserving of the Best Narrative nomination. It's what the game has to say about humanity and futurity that makes it so prescient. Especially in a year, and let's face it, years, that have been so hate-filled and straight-up cruel. I won't spoil how 1000 Times Resist says the important things it means to say, but simply that it's the kind of game we all need in our lives right now, and especially in the future years to come. Really, 1000 Times Resist is emblematic of the kinds of games more jurors should get their hands on. The atypical experiences that often outshine most AAA games. It's why I also think comedy games like Thank Goodness You're Here can stand shoulder to shoulder for Best Narrative with highly dramatic stories like Hellblade 2. Hell, Alan Wake 2's Lake House DLC had one of the best depictions for the case against AI art I've seen across any medium. But that's an expansion. And believe you me, we are definitely going to be talking about that later.
Curse you, Bale!
Best Ongoing is a weird one. A category where the lines between expansion, live service, and patches and updates is so blurred that it's split between this category and Best Community Support. Yet, by the definitions they've set, quote, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time, unquote. Then there's the case to be made for early access titles. Sure, technically speaking, those games aren't out yet. And yet, that doesn't stop the Game Awards from nominating early access games anyway. Case in point, Manor Lords, currently still in early access, is up for 2 separate awards. So, if we're to abide by these amorphous rules, then let me quickly make the case for 2 games: Abiotic Factor and Hades 2. What's there to say about Hades 2 that hasn't been said already? It's a sequel to a game that was already peak roguelite, somehow now refined even further. With an art style so striking and interweaving character dialogue so complex, it sort of makes you wonder how any of this is even planned, let alone executed so excellently. Even despite only getting a taste of the first couple of areas, you can tell that Hades 2 is going to shape out to be something special. Even now, before the 1.0 release, the updates Supermassive had pushed out are exactly representative of what the voting body looks for in this category. It just so happens the game hasn't technically released yet. Abiotic Factor is the same. An inspired sci-fi survival crafting game driven by exploration, narrative lore, and New Zealand charm. Even before hitting 1.0, the content updates Deepfield Games has dropped continues to push the game in radical new directions. The kind of updates that make me say out loud, in real time, to my friends, man, these developers just get it. It's hard to find games like this. Of course, this isn't to discredit the hard work the other nominees have done this year. Simply that there's both vagueness with the category's description and what games, and early access games, make the cut. Folks, we did it. It's the big one. It's Game of the Year. Okay, so let's recap, because 2024 is pointing to this being the Game Awards' most divisive year yet. While there are the expected nominees here, the big ones like FF7, Metaphor, and Astro. There are also the surprises. Black Myth Wukong comes in hot as the lowest rated game ever nominated for a Game of the Year awards, currently with a Metacritic score of 81. While, for many, the weird, simple-looking card game squeezed out potential nominees like Silent Hill 2, another remake by the way, and Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Balatro is deserved here, by the way. It's actually gaming perfection. And the uptick in sales proves that a Game of the Year nomination for a game of this size is legitimately huge for people to check out games outside their comfort zone. But that isn't the problem. Instead, that's Shadow of the Erd Tree, a DLC for a game that not only released in 2022, but won that year's respective Game of the Year award. Wherever you fall on that side of the argument, there's one thing that remains true. Game of the Year is not a perfect category. It's flawed, just like all the others. While it's all well and good a game like Balatro can break through to the biggest category of the show, it also continues the trend of tokenizing the one game that represents the indie space. That's not to say games like Lorelei and the Laser Eyes or 1000 Times Resist should push out Final Fantasy, but that perhaps the current setup is too limiting. So here's my pitch. Bump it up to 10. Squeeze in games that just as easily could have been on the list and possibly even won. This way, you can at least make room for one of this category's biggest snubs, Helldivers 2. In terms of breakout, it's hard to think of a game that was the defining multiplayer experience of the year, quite like Helldivers was. It was a massive success, hitting record numbers. And chances are, if you're watching, you were one of those comrades taking the Hellpods down to Malevelon Creek. We thank you for your service. But it isn't just the success that makes Helldivers deserving of this spot. Not even the sublime gameplay, for that matter. It's that Arrowhead eked out a niche philosophy and supplanted it into the mainstream in an era where most publishers are happy simplifying the means to how we even play games, where systems and mechanics are trivialized for casual audiences in favor of mass market appeal. Helldivers just doesn't do that. It's a hard game, with specific and ideal parameters to play the game on its intended difficulties. A game for everyone is a game for no one. There's just no other games like this right now. And it's indicative of a growing trend of purposeful PvE gameplay that I think will be around for a while. In this regard, Helldivers 2 is just straight up one of the best games of the year. But that's not the point. The point is, does any of it matter? It's evident by the sheer amount of discourse happening online that Jeff has successfully made us forget the Game Awards is not really an award show, but rather an end-of-the-year showcase with reveals, trailers, and commercials.
I'm here tonight because I have a world premiere for you.
Masterful gambit, sir. It's not to discredit the show completely. Jeff consistently listens to and implements feedback year after year. But again, simply, that it's a flawed show, a compromised award ceremony. That's why there's a category for most anticipated game. A game that hasn't released yet, not early access, that's different guys, come on, can win an award. It's weird. It feels almost antithetical to the concept of the show even. Like when the Oscars let fans vote on what their favorite cinematic moment was of 2022, and all these Snyder bros flooded the ballots to make The Flash entering the Speed Force the best movie moment of the year. But I'm sorry, I forgot. At this show, it's
Fuck the Oscars, you know? Fuck the Oscars! Fuck you!
All this to say, it's been another fantastic year in gaming with countless amazing experiences. I just wish the Game Awards were interested in showcasing more of them beyond the same 5 or 6 expected AAA titles. But there's always more games and snubs to mention, aren't there? So here's one last look at some of the best games of 2024 before we roll our calendars over and start looking forward to whatever game Phil Spencer has on his shirt and what Air Forces Jeff decides to wear at next year's show.
crime scene!
You bring the police to my door? To my rig?
I can sort this, right? I just need time.
Don't you answer me back!
What did you say your name was?
With hands entwined and hearts aligned, we seek the realm of the undefined.
What was that?
Let me know what you think of the Game Awards this year. Should DLC be eligible for Game of the Year, or should it be its own category? And how many hours have you put into Balatro? I'll be waiting for you down in the comments. Until next time, my name is Christian, this is Save Room, we'll see you in the next one.